All Comanche Reds, Red 1, keep your eyes open, boys. Over.
Guys, see what I'm seeing?
Where the hell is everyone? Hold position, over.
Ambush!
96, this is Red 1, we are in contact, over. I know you're upset, but we talked about this, right? Look, okay, it's a little like football. I'm the team captain, and now it's time for us to go play in the big game.
But you've never been to war before.
Kiss the kids for me.
Two vehicles down. I repeat, we need immediate evac. Over.
Copy that, Red 1. Help is on the way.
Gentlemen, this is a skilled and highly prepared enemy who has coordinated a citywide attack.
We have a Christmas tree!
Since I'm not going to be here for Christmas this year, I thought maybe we could celebrate early.
A platoon's been attacked.
I am anxious. We are all so anxious.
I don't see any hostiles. Maybe it's over.
No. Now they're just regrouping.
I promised I'd get them back safe. Promised all of them.
I'm gonna need all of this to come back.
Everybody rebound!
Thank you, Lord, for all my wonderful blessings. Bless them for their sacrifice.
Get in!
Back up, back up, back up!
I just gotta go over there. I gotta go help some people.
Why?
Those guys in my platoon, they're my family too.
Their deployment to Iraq. Well, on their day transfer of authority, the day we handed over the sector to them and we were leaving, they got into a big ambush on April 4th, 0404, which became known as Black Sunday or something like that. And we got asked to go in there and help them, so we did. And they made a documentary about it, 8-part miniseries. So that's what that commercial was about. And when I go to break, I got some more commercials from it. I was able to go to LA this week on Monday. Actually, and catch the premiere or whatever in LA of it, which was it was pretty cool. It was actually a really amazing event to be at. Nat Geo really got down on it. There was a big interview area with a bunch of celebrities. Since it was in LA, it was full of celebrities. But it was interesting. It was well perceived, and it was great to be a part of. I know it was a full house, and at the end, it was a standing ovation for at least a good 2 minutes. So it was perceived well. I think the story was told well, which I was kind of worried about because you know how it goes. They can't always tell the story exactly the way it was. You know, people remember things differently. Certain things just can't be put out there sometimes. So, you know, taking that into account, I think it was very accurate. It was really well done. I liked all the acting and everything. It wasn't all corny. It wasn't one of these little, you know, melodramatic type things. It was actually really well put together. So check that out. It airs November 7th on Nat Geo. So that should be pretty good. Also, I met Eric Borkman. I don't know if he's on or not, but I met him out there. Good guy. He was one of the guys that was there April 4th. And he should be on the show hopefully next week. I was talking to him. He's going to come on the show, possibly get some of the guys from there, from the unit to come on the show. So it was good. It was good to see these guys get the recognition that they deserved. What's up, Johnny? What's up, Gina? Jerry, see you guys. Fuck, Gonzo, the other Gonzo. That's the other Gonzo for everybody, so they don't know. I put up some little emoticon things. I don't know how they work. I see a bunch of people are clicking the haha. I don't know. Play with them. I was trying to get the comments thing up there, but it's not working for some reason. So that's why I came on live earlier. I've been getting sick, so I'm gonna try to go as long as I can. But my voice is a little raspy if you hadn't noticed. So for you guys though that, like I said, just tuned in, the long road home, I'm gonna keep promoting that because I think it's worth to see. It does a good job of showing the both sides from like the family's perspective and like what was going on back home and the other side of what was going on there and how people didn't want, you know, everybody back here to know what was going on, and how it was crazy how everything was coming from the rear anyways. We would call home trying not to let them know anything, and they were telling us we got extended. They were telling us that, you know, people were lost. They were telling us what was going on. It was ridiculous. But one thing I want to point out is that I felt like while I was watching it, I seen a big reason or big possibility for causes of PTSD is, you know, we remember the unit getting there and they would come and they would tell us, you know, you guys can't smoke. You got in your vehicles. What are you doing? You can't smoke in your vehicles. Well, at the time, you know, during the invasion, we did what we wanted. Well, our unit kind of always did, but especially during the invasion. And they came in with this mindset of a peacekeeping mission right after the invasion. This is in 04. To win hearts and minds. You know, they kept telling us that we were there to win hearts and minds, you know, which we ended up responding with 2 in the chest, 1 in the head. There was your hearts and minds. But, you know, they came in with a different mindset. And I think that's where a lot of this PTSD comes from. You know, we were told going in, you know, look to your left and right. Somebody's not coming back. That's just the truth. That's the facts. You're going to war. We were combat arms. We were tankers. Like, there is no job other than seek and destroy. Like, otherwise just a paperweight. So make no bones about it. You know what you're going into. So why act surprised or shocked afterwards? You can never prepare yourself fully for it, but like, why beat yourself up for it afterwards? I don't know. But if you go in there not expecting it, not thinking that that's what you're going in there to do, you think you're going in there to rebuild schools and, you know, help these people out, and then you're in a major ambush within the first day or 2 of being there. Yeah, I can see how that could kind of mess your head a little bit. You know, you weren't going in with the right mindset. But I don't understand where people were thinking that the war was over right when it started. But again, that's just me. So I was asked again to speak about this pill epidemic. This pill epidemic, according to Trump. Let's see if I can get this to play.
Across our country are currently dealing with the worst drug crime, motor vehicle crashes, gun homicides, more people by far from drug overdoses. These overdoses are driven by a massive increase in addiction to prescription painkillers, heroin, and other opioids. Last year, almost 1 million Americans.
I'm gonna stop right there for a second because that drives me crazy too. People keep saying opiates and painkillers and heroin like there's a difference. They keep saying so many people are using heroin, but then so many people are on opiates. Let me show you something real quick. This is what your body sees when you take one substance. Here's what your body sees when you take the other substance. Can you tell me which is which? Oh, wait. Because that one's Oxycontin and that one's heroin. See the similarities? They're both from the same derivative. They both have the same basic ingredients, but when you get down to the bottom of it, one is synthesized in a laboratory with supposedly safer stuff for you and taxed, and therefore it is legal and approved by the FDA, and the other is stepped on in the jungle by diesel fuel or something, I don't know, and turned into heroin and not taxed and is not legal. And they keep saying stuff in the interview like involuntary deaths, that involuntary deaths of drug overdoses are on a rise. How do you consider a drug overdose not a suicide? You know, a voluntary death. I mean, you know what you're doing. If you're doing drugs, if you're using substances, you should understand that you're killing yourself. So how is that like an unintended suicide? You knew what you were doing. You knew what you were taking. And you know what? You're right, Johnny. Socially acceptable part about it is that's one of the things that makes it so dangerous is that, you know, you get your painkillers from the doctor. You know what I mean? And the doctor sits there and he has all this experience, he has all this schooling stuff, right? Which you would expect. And then hold on. Actually, he even Trump himself addresses it. Let me go back over here to this.
And more than 11 million abused prescription
I just gotta
opioids.
find the right
The
time.
United States.
At 7 minutes into his speech, he makes this blatant discovery, like, "Oh, we got this great fix." Here, I'll let you hear it.
Epidemic on all fronts. We're working with doctors and medical professionals to implement best practices for safe opioid prescribing. And we will do something very, very special. We are requiring federally employed prescribers to receive, finally, special training. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention has launched a prescription awareness campaign to put faces on the danger of opioid abuse.
Are you serious? Did you guys catch that? He said OxyContin came about in like 1980s, 1985, something like that, to a company that used to do like X-Lax and I don't know, painkiller, headache medicines or something. And they came up with OxyContin and marketed it as the safer alternative to like morphine and other opiate derivative narcotics. And they did so because they said they put a time coding on it that helped release it through the body slowly. And in theory, it sounded less addicting because it was more time released. Which turned out not to be the case. Not to be the case at all. The time coding was easily manipulated and people got more than hooked on them. And then once they realized they couldn't afford them anymore or they had a hard time finding them, they usually went to heroin because it was a cheap alternative that was easy to get. But they didn't understand going into it that they were getting on heroin. Because again, they didn't understand the difference between this and this, like their body product did. Because they'll both make you physically addicted and make you feel worse getting off of them than you ever did for anything you ever needed to get on. I promise you, I went through detox off this, and I hurt worse than anything I ever needed the pain killers for, anything I ever got them for. And if you look up like the detox process or protocol for these stuff, the detox protocol for opiates is either continued opiate use or an opiate blocker, basically, that you have to take for the rest of your life. So once you start this, you have to take them forever, for the rest of your life. That made no sense to me when they explained that to me in rehab. They told me, do you want Suboxone or methadone? I said, well, what are they? They said, well, they're blockers or whatever, and basically to keep you from wanting to get high or to keep you from being able to get high. I'm like, so how long do I get to take it? And they said, forever. I said, so why would I take your pill and not get high if I could take my pill and at least get high? And they didn't seem to grasp that, so I just told them I wasn't going to take anything. That was ignorant to me. If I was going to stop taking something, I'm going to stop taking it. I'm not going to substitute it for another thing. I'm not going to get addicted to it or have need for something else again. It made absolutely no sense to me that they would even try to push that on me in rehab. I understand having to taper off. I understand having, your body does physically need this at a certain point. But you can get off of anything, you just got to do it safely. Well, I did it stubbornly and I kicked and it took about almost 2 weeks. But I felt tremendously better afterwards. And after that, it was a lot of mental stuff. It was a lot of your mind telling you you need it and a lot of your mind trying to get you to go back into using that people need to realize. But to sit there and say that here we are, 30 years later after the 80s, and he's saying that now they're going to do something special. They're going to do something for us, and they're going to have these doctors that have been prescribing all these medications all these years get specialized training in the dangers of opiates. Are you serious? Like, I thought that was why we paid so much for doctors. I thought that's what their little fancy schools and paperwork was about. And I thought that's why we trusted them to prescribe us this stuff, was because, they were doctors. They were learned doctors. And to take that a step further, if you look into the PAs and who's prescribing stuff in the military, those are like the guys that wanted to be doctors, that seen it on TV and grew up watching Doogie Howser, so they let them be PAs. And those are the guys that were actively prescribing us stuff, and we're like, oh, they were doing basically what we were doing to Dr. Shop. If you felt like you needed some painkillers or something, you might want to just look up symptoms and play to it and play to the doctor's oath and, get him to help you. And I don't know. By far the thing that made me was, it was the worst. I had a real hard time kicking pills. That was terrible. And I know that I can't get a script for, a little script so that way I could just taper, because I won't. I'll start taking them and my tolerance goes up too quick, and then before you know it, I'm just going hard and doing too much legal stuff, and it's not good. But for him, that just still blows me away. I can't believe that he acted like he was doing a favor to the country by requiring, federally registered doctors to undergo specialized training on the dangers of opiates. I think they should take all the people that make it and prescribe it and make them go on a healthy diet of it for, say, a month. A month's more than long enough. And then just take them away and lock them in a padded room, like a detox cell, and let them have at it. And they'll probably rethink some stuff. Because when they don't want something around, like he goes on and he says how they're going to just combat this big war on drugs and they're going to do this and that and it's going to be all crazy. But the U.S. government, when they don't want something around, they don't want something around. They'll cut it off. They'll get it down. And I'll tell you, on the street level, I've seen what policy can do to prices, to availability, to quantities. Like I've seen markets shift out here drastically on some of the policies. And with the painkiller stuff, I've seen a lot of people stop using or really switch substance because of availability, because they made more restrictions on prescriptions and like where you're allowed to pick them up and how they regulate it and how they track it. And people were getting fed up or the prices are getting too high, and it caused people to either just stop or shift over. I can't take those no more because I enjoy the feeling of it, especially mixing with those. Yeah, see, and that was the dangerous thing, because see, for me, oxy doesn't hit me like it hits normal people. Normal people, it hits them like heroin and they get the nod and they, feel all warm and tingly. For me, it had the opposite effect. It made me more social. It made me, gave me energy. Like I'd wake up, I felt like I could do anything. Like it was crazy, and I liked it too much. And then I would take it to the point where I'd get like beet red and be itching all day. And that was a sign of overdosing. That was a sign of like doing too much. And I didn't know. I was ignorant to it. And I just blindly trusted it because, again, I got it from the PA. I got it from the guy who I thought was looking out for my best interest, who I thought was a learned doctor and had went to school for this stuff, not that would eventually sometime in the future be required to get some sort of PowerPoint presentation. But again, in the military, there is no malpractice lawsuits. There is no he messed me up. So they could care less. And again, and in their defense, because I don't like to just sit there and point the finger in one direction, but we got to remember too that guys were coming back from the invasion that were sustaining a lot of injuries that they wouldn't have in prior wars. In just the last war, back in like Desert Storm, guys were getting wounded and they were dying because they weren't being able to get treated fast enough, or they didn't have proper armor, or whatever the case may be. Well, now that we had better armor, they were able to protect us from blast and fragment and shrapnel wounds and stuff a lot better than they were before. And guys are making it back now with new injuries that weren't visible for the most part, and a lot of internal stuff that they hadn't had to deal with before because people normally would have died. Yeah, so that was a symptom or whatever, or issue that hadn't got to get dealt with yet. So we were kind of the guinea pigs, and they just did what they knew best, was throw a bunch of drugs at us. Which, if you take a look at the picture I got in the background, let me remove my mug from it. There's a picture I made for a school project that I had, and I felt like it represented to me what we as veterans kind of left service with. I felt like for every award or medal that I had a script to go with it. And I felt like, we basically leave with the memories of our guys, which is why I got the memorials and stuff right there. And then got the bottles in there for the self-medicating, because that's usually the preferred method, is alcohol, which is a whole nother subject, which drives me nuts. I can't stand drinking anymore, which is crazy. I know most of the people that know me probably couldn't believe that I stopped drinking, but I didn't really like myself drinking. So why would I submit other people to be around me when I'm drunk like that? Because I was an animal. And I never drank for the taste. I always drank for the effect. So again, why would I continue to do it? But people don't realize either is that it's all promoted on TV, and nobody thinks twice about, having their kid go get them a beer from the fridge, right? Or go make them a screwdriver. Just pouring a little orange juice over some vodka, right? God forbid I said, hey, Jazz, go grab me a butt off the plant out back. People would lose their mind. It'd be straight, child care protective services getting called because I asked my daughter to go out back and pick a flower as opposed to go to the fridge and get me a cold bottle of poison. Because when you're drinking, the inebriation you feel, that wooziness that you feel, is your brain telling you can't process the alcohol, that it can't function, like it's not cool. It's too soon. So you start getting all dizzy and feeling all woozy, and everybody's like, yeah, party on. And then you start throwing up, and then everybody's laughing, talking about you and everything. Well, that's your body actually physically saying, okay, you don't know how to stop, so I'm going to stop you because you don't realize you're trying to kill us. So it starts throwing it up. And what do? Woo, rage, right? Party on. And we continue the cycle. And that's why we're killing our liver and stuff. But people don't understand that. The doctors try to scream at us, but they put it in a way that everybody's like, I'm going to have a drink. But that's what it comes down to, So, yeah, I don't know. And they'll promote it on the news. They'll sit there and they'll say, they'll have their little beer fest or whatever that's getting ready to go on, and they'll have their beer mugs up on their desk talking, and then they'll talk about the evil pot farm that just got raided. And it drives me crazy. But I digress. I'll go back to the opiates. Damn, don't know what. I don't know. I missed that comment, but so back to what I was saying. So that's where I don't understand what this pill, this opiate. I got a feeling that when they changed the substance, because whatever they used as time coding used to be just like a kind of like the other Gonzo's brain, like a thin shell around it, and you could take a wet napkin, and once you got the color off, time coding was gone. Well, they changed that recently, a few years back, and they made it to where the chemical that made it time released was solid all the way through the pill, and there's no way to get it out now. If you try to break those things down, it's kind of like taking a Skittle and trying to break it down and make a line out of a Skittle. And if you try to snort that line, or if you try to burn that line or whatever, it gums up really quickly, and it could kill you because it will clog your nasal cavity. Pubs and bars bring in revenue. Yeah, and after the prohibition, I mean, they kind of realized they couldn't beat it, so might as well tax it. And I think that might have been what it came down to, because everybody was still drinking. There were speakeasies everywhere. People were dying due to lack of proper alcohol because they were making that gin or whatever in their tubs, and they had all this lead in it, and people were dying because it was just, they were doing whatever they had to drink. So the government kind of seen that and realized, hey, we could tax it, we can make money off it still, we can, do whatever we need to do to keep revenue coming in, and it just kind of became a socially accepted thing again, and cannabis is the same way. Cannabis used to be legal. We used to gain so much revenue off of hemp and hemp farming and the different textiles you could do with hemp. And people don't realize that back when George Washington was around and stuff, that was one of our main exports, was hemp. So somewhere in there, people realized they could start really making money off of it at home, and the government didn't appreciate that because they weren't getting their cut. And they put a ban on it and gave it a Mexican name to make it sound scary, and came out with propaganda like, what's that? Not Days and Food. It'll come to me. There's how is it called? It's gonna bother me now. What's the cannabis? I know one of you guys out there know. It's the old silent film, basically, with where the guys go crazy when they smoke it, and the white girls go looking for the black guys. Reefer Madness. That's what it is. I win. If you haven't seen it, it's hilarious. In my opinion, it's hilarious. It has some stereotypical racist stuff from the time period, which always to me is hilarious. I don't know. Personally, I think, hey, way to get in there, Gonzo. A little late. I forget there's a delay. But I lost what I was saying. The comments got me. Alright, so I'm going to take a break real quick. I'm going to cut to, this is commercials from The Long Road Home. Starts November 7th on Nat Geo. It's about April 4th and some of my guys.
It may be he shall take my hand
and lead me into his dark land.
And close my eyes.
Clench my breath.
I have a rendezvous with death.
I, to my pledged word, am true. I shall not fail that rendezvous.
First of all, thank you for your service. And I'll just jump right into it. Obviously, playing a real character is much different than playing a fictional character. And war is personal. It's very close to my family. It's hard to not be at this event and be emotional, but my goodness, can you talk about what it was like? You obviously spent lots of time together, what it was like preparing for this role.
Yeah, it was extremely intimidating to begin with, but very quickly upon arriving on set and spending time with Eric.
So that was Sergeant Borkin. He was one of the guys that was with First Cav and got trapped that day and survived. And he was one of the main guys, I guess, that was responsible for getting their story out there with Radek and getting it brought to a mini-series and such. So I got a chance to meet him at the premiere. That was from the premiere. It was the way those cameras were. There was about 15 of those going down in a line, and there was just celebrity after celebrity next to the actual soldier that they played or whatever, and they were interviewing them. And it was pretty awesome. It was something to see. It was overwhelming. Honestly, I wasn't ready. I just kind of stayed in the cuts because it was pretty intimidating. But he was a good dude. He was real humble. I was able to pick him out of the crowd because in a Hollywood crowd, you can definitely tell the vets from everybody else. I know I kept getting stared at kind of like security in the corner or something, as I do, but whatever. But I got to talk to him. I talked to him earlier today. He's on his way back home, but he's going to come on the show hopefully next week, and we'll talk about the show. It should be the night actually it premieres, I think. I think it's next Wednesday, right before my show, I think. So we'll talk to him after the fact and see how he feels. I know he's seen it plenty of times because he's been at all the premieres and everything else, so he's probably burnt out on it. I mean, he lived it, but he's still a good guy. He's got some good stories, and it was a great show. I got to see the first 2 episodes. It's funny the way they talk about us. The way they portray us so far, I believe, was pretty accurate. I spoke with a lot of guys from my unit. I still am in touch with a lot of those guys, and they all have said that they've never served in a unit like that again. You know, we were a bunch of like just rejects that nobody wanted that got the job done. Got it done our way. People would bitch about that, but the results were results, and they couldn't complain about that. So we were able to keep doing what we did, keep roaming like gypsies. Let's just go back to comments. Sarcasm Cannabis could do the same and with less issues and more for local government. Well, yeah, and I mean, you got to remember, they do stuff like this when you go in there. Tell me your pain. And, like, what does the varying shades of color have to do with pain? Anybody notice that, or is that just me? Like, if you're pain-free and you're just a happy little white child feeling perfectly normal, then you're 0. But as you start gaining color and losing privilege, you start to feel pain, apparently. I don't get it. But, you know, if stoners were in charge of the pain chart, I don't think it would look like that. It'd probably be like, you know, how hungry are you from Cheerios to, like, honey glazed donuts on pizza. Which I stay around the top round. But, you know, cannabis would be. I know I had a conversation with my psychiatrist one day. She kept trying to convert me over, kept trying to get me to, you know, go back over to their shit. And so finally one day I was like, you know, I got tired of her messing with me, so I was like, let me try a different way of telling her no. And I hit her with, you know, all right, doc, you know, I'm ready. I'm ready to make the switch. I'm tired of it. Can't afford it no more. Cannabis is just too expensive. She's like, finally, great. And I was like, I'm ready to take your drugs. That's what you got for me. She goes, well, we got to get you off campus first, and then, you know, we'll get you going again on your Xanax and everything else. I was like, great. Well, what do you got for me to get off? I go, I need something to kick weed. I go, I need something to rehabilitate, you know, and or not to rehabilitate, but to keep me from withdrawing and stuff. And she was like, come on, let's get serious. I said, what? She goes, you don't withdraw from cannabis. I was like, you don't? I go, well, what about like seizures and stuff, man? I ain't never had one of those. I'm not trying to seize out or nothing. She was like, come on, no, you know, there's no detox for weed. I was like, seriously? I was like, well, what about, you know, when I get back on my Xanax and stuff? I remember there was some stuff I had to do to get off of that. She was like, well, yeah, you know, you'd have to titrate and you'd have to take this and that and cross addict and use these other substances. And I was like, that sounds complicated. I was Like, I think I'll just stick to my poison. Because it basically made her, in her own words, tell me that mine had no harm to it, and hers had all this other protocols and side effects and could cause death type stuff. And for what? To help me with a couple aches and pains and not want to kill everybody I meet immediately? Because I usually still want to kill everybody. I just don't act on it so fast because I stay happy. And then you hate those charts. I've always wondered who creates those charts. Like, this comes out in a doctor's office. Hey, Nate, boy, I'm glad you tuned in. I'm gonna show you something I just put up. I don't know if you'd seen it, but maybe you could explain to us how this pain chart works. Why is it that if you're a happy white kid, you know, you're at 0 and you're feeling perfectly normal, but if you're a brown, a little Indian kid or something, then you're crying and you're feeling a lot of pain apparently. What does color have to do with anything? Or am I just overthink everything? Give him a second on that one, but the butter. What are you talking about? The buffer. Oh, the buffer. You lost me. You lost me, Ernie. I lost myself. But that's why I don't get, so this the opiate thing. I feel like this opium epidemic or whatever they're calling it is simply because stock in Oxycontin has gone down and the government's losing money in it, and this is the way that they chastise it and make it terrible, and that way they can act like they did away with it because the numbers are dropping and abuse is dropping, and you know, now they can act like they're combating it because they're winning a war on it because the numbers are going down. A lot of the president's speech seemed like it was full of just statistics that were numbers to be numbers. You know, they're basically just saying there's a bunch of people that die of these pills, and they're just telling you all these reasons why it needs to be stopped. But I'm like, you guys are all wearing those suits because of kickbacks from those companies. What are you talking about? Like, they used to go around and offer doctors, you know, payback for writing scripts. So there was an incentive to write scripts because they got paid twice for it. They got paid not only for the person that came to get the script, but they got paid from the company to write the script. So of course they're gonna start pushing Oxy more. You know what I mean? If the guy you buy your weed from is kicking you $20 every time you know get one of your friends come by from, you're gonna start being a little telemarketer. You know, and it's the same thing. You know, and the same thing that happened. These guys in white coats were told that, hey, if you know, push these on your guys, that's safer than what you're already giving them, and you know, we'll even pay you for it because we believe in it so much. It's an easy manipulation. You know, especially if someone who by nature wants to help people. You know, they preyed on that, and they even said in a lot of the speeches and a lot of the marketing, it was the marketing. It was the way that they pushed it on people. You know, what if my everyday is pain and I still find a way to be a happy white kid? My dog asked me, non person pain, not military guy. Hey, you know what, Giant Gonzo? If you are still a happy little white kid in pain, then you're on point. My cousin, I did my pilot show on him. I was trying to find it, but apparently it was taken down. He's got this real rare form skin condition of EB, and it looks like he's got blisters everywhere. Like any real friction against his skin will cause him to blister. Walking causes his feet to blister, and this man takes no narcotics. Like, he uses a topographical CBD cream of all things. That kind of blew me away. That something such as like a sunburn or like a skin so sensitive that it'll blister at the slightest rub. Is treated with a topographical CBD cream that doesn't give him any type of psychoactive effect. It doesn't get him all loopy or anything. It just eases the pain, you know. And that's someone who lives in extreme pain, you know, and will smile on your face and try to help you do anything he can. You know, so I know that you could do it without painkillers. Like, he was one of the main reasons why I stopped, because I couldn't keep looking at myself like a man and knowing that he was out there doing that. Knowing damn well he was in more pain than I've ever been in. It froze on me. My 7 or 8 on that chart would be a normal person 10. And that's the thing though. I mean, people need to understand their pain levels too. I've always felt that you only go to the doctor to die. Like, I hate going to the doctor. I feel like they're best guessers at best. They're gonna go in there and go, sounds like you got this. Because when I used to go in there and I was overweight, I would get, yeah. No, your knees broke because you're overweight. You know, your face looks like that because you're overweight. Like, everything was just overweight. And then once I lost weight and I still had the same damn problems, then all of a sudden, when I went in there and talked to the doctor, it was like a totally different person. It was like I was a completely different person in front of him that he'd never seen. And now all of a sudden, when I told him something hurt, it was, okay, let's get this run, or let's go test this, let's go see, what it really is. And then they would acknowledge me as a person and actually try to figure out what was going on. Before that, it was just because I was fat. Everything was because I was fat. Now, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, some things did get better with my health when I lost weight, but at the same time, they should have still took me into account every time as a person, not just after I lost weight. You know what I mean? And again, they kept saying that it was this or that, and half the time they weren't right. So I mean, it got frustrating. And who wants to go to the doctor and keep getting told what's wrong with you? Like, I wake up every day, I know what's wrong with me. Like, I don't need to be reminded. I don't need some guy in a jacket to judge me and tell me what's going on. I'll go to him when I need some penicillin. What's up? The comments are going quiet. I have to throw another clip at you guys. If you guys watch this show, though, I'm telling you, Long Road Home, it can be triggering. I want to say the opening scene was Camp War Eagle, the Cash Collection Point, and it was very graphic and very much the way it was that day. Did I change my socks? What? What's up, Don? I don't know what you're talking about, Gonzo. Appreciate the share. I don't know what these little icons do. I don't know if you could click on them or what, but I don't know. I put them up there. I was trying to get the little comments thing to go up there, but I'm still working with it. I'm still messing with it. So does anybody else got any other questions? And like, see, another thing that drives me crazy too about like opiates and stuff is a lot of people act like they're not taking opiates because they're taking Norcos or they're taking Vicodin because it's such a different substance. Which people need to realize, it's chemically, again, it's about the same. It's simply they made the Norcos or whatever and the hydrocodone for people that were allergic to the stuff in oxycodone, for the people that couldn't take it. But it's the same spots in your body where like the same neurons and stuff. It's chemically, it's almost the same thing. So it's like it'll hit you a little differently because your own chemical makeup, but it's designed to do the same thing and they attack the same areas. So it's not like one's better than the other. One is just meant for people that are allergic to the other. And that's another thing people need to realize, that like we have systems like the FDA that approve this stuff, but they have guidelines on what they need to approve, what they can approve, how long they have to approve stuff, how they can temporarily approve stuff, and then realize it's screwing people up, like the anthrax shots, and then be like, oh no, we can't give you that no more. Which, like, fun story, when we went in for the invasion, they were like, hey, everybody needs to get these anthrax shots. It was 7 series vaccination that was supposed to make a Superman. And it hurt like a bitch. Every time you got one, you'd have to drop down and do push-ups to try to get it to circulate because it would just knot your arm up something fierce. And that was a 7-shot series that we had to do. And then we went over to the invasion, came back. I remember getting ready to go back 8 months later, and we lined up like cattle for our shots again. We went looking for anthrax, and they were like, well, FDA didn't approve. We can't legally give it to you guys no more. So, and the first time they made us, like, they took head count. They would go grab people out of their rooms to come get this 7-shot series. And then this time, just 8 months later, they were telling us, nope, we can't do it. We can't legally give it to you guys. Like, if you want it, they said, then you can go over there and get it, but we can't make you get it no more. At this point, I'm, 20 years old, just got back from the invasion anyway, so I'm like, well, I can't say it didn't work because I'm still here, and it didn't kill me because I'm still here. Give me a booster, so go ahead and hit me another time. Come to find out, that might be where a lot of my memory issues and stomach issues and all these other problems come from. So if you guys haven't heard about that, you might want to look into it. The effects of like methylquin poisoning, the malaria pills that they gave us, remember those? Those were fun. Come to find out, there's never even been a case of malaria in Iraq. So not sure why we were prepping for that. But those, come to find out, were like some sort of secret soldier pill or something. They said that's why that guy in Afghanistan went off base and killed a bunch of people. Hey, yeah, those dreams, right? I had 8 and they didn't put 6 lot numbers on there. Yeah, no, hey, that stuff was no joke, man. That stuff had us like, I felt like I was crashing Humvees in my sleep. Like, it was a trip. That's why a lot of us stopped taking them. They put us in formation, and wanted us to like take these things like together and stuff, and all sit there and made sure we take them. And then one day they come in and they're like, we need it all, give it to us all. They put us in formation, went through our wall lockers, and like took everything in trash bags. Like we had plenty of bottles. We were trying to give it to them. We didn't care. But it was kind of odd. I remember that they came through and they wanted everything, when just the day before they wanted to make sure we were fucking all taking them. And we were all cheating them like inmates. Because we all started realizing that we were getting these really ridiculous dreams that were just, they weren't right. You know, and it was everybody was having them. It was common. Anthrax shot kill us in 10 and 15 years. That's what I said about 10 years ago. So we're pushing that marker already. And I don't think it's the anthrax that'll kill us. I think the anthrax already probably mutated ourselves. Like, if anybody hasn't heard of the Gulf War syndrome, you might want to look it up, because they keep trying to say we don't fit Gulf War because we didn't deploy during the Gulf War, but they don't realize that the Gulf War was called that because we were in the Gulf. So the Gulf War syndrome didn't get, restricted to the Gulf War. It didn't know the time frame and say, oh, hey, no, Gulf War's over, we're not going to keep hitting you. Because Gulf War syndrome came from all the depleted uranium and the chemicals that were in the dust and the dirt out there. Well, when we went around breathing them and inhaling them, it penetrated us, and it got in our systems too. Well, what it does is it goes in and it causes mutations of your DNA or whatever, your genetics, and it affects people differently. So we could have served in the same exact area in the same platoon the whole time, and I'm having stomach problems and you're having vision problems. They won't connect the two for the longest time because they're nowhere near each other. But in actuality, what happened was, the Gulf War syndrome, the chemicals or whatever in the dust came in and attacked my genes one way and attacked your genes another way. And that's what they found with Gulf War syndrome, was that the only way they could tie any of these symptoms together was through genetic mutation. And they actually looked in at the genetics, and they seen the code read mutated into different stuff, and so it's something to be aware of. A lot of people get misdiagnosed and they get treated for X, Y, and Z when it has nothing to do with that, and that's kind of the issue with painkillers and narcotics, is that everything, all they do is they just blanket it and they just flood your system with a certain chemical or burn out receptors because they keep overloading one thing, which your body usually doesn't need. That's just like an immediate response to kind of shut off the pain or kind of get to where you can get operated on or something. But when it comes to like CBDs, and see people keep trying to like smoke some purple and act like they're using it for pain relief. The actual CBDs, the science behind that is that it causes homeostasis in the body. It causes your body to regulate itself and say, what am I lacking, or what am I not producing, or what am I overproducing that's causing discomfort or pain or whatever, and let me stop that or start that. And it causes your system to fire up and naturally do whatever it needs to do to balance out. And it causes another reaction called apoptosis in cancer cells, which is where it causes cancer cells to eat themselves. They self-destruct, they destroy, they break down, leaving the healthy cells to keep going about its day. Well, the only alternative to it is chemo, which, if you don't know anything about chemo is where they sit there and shoot you up full of great stuff like uranium or whatever, or chemo or whatever. It's toxic, it's poison, and it goes in and it kills everything, and it kills everything in its path, and it kills all your good cells, your bad cells, and any cells in between. And then they hope that they do it soon enough that your body's able to recover. So they're basically throwing the dice, shooting you up, and saying, we hope we didn't kill you, if you really think about it. But if you go with cannabis, you have a far better chance of kind of your body healing itself. People got to remember, we were alive long before all the modern science, medications, and all sort of crap. Our bodies are pretty good at healing themselves. Most bones, after broken, come back stronger. A lot of the super viruses that we have today are because people kept getting antibiotics and vaccinations, and they didn't get rid of the bacteria. They just caused it to evolve with the vaccinations. So we keep getting more and more severe, colds and flus and stuff going around because the germs are just mutating, they're just growing. Does the VA do that? Yeah, they have you. I remember when I got back from the invasion to test for uranium, they had us peeing in this like big orange juice looking bottle, and we had to keep it in the fridge for like a week. My ex-wife got so mad about that. So I mean, there's ways to test for it, but that was for like exposure, and that was for like immediate exposure. So it didn't cover for like genetic mutation. That's something they would actually have to test. I think the genes, if I'm not mistaken, because they went into people that were diagnosed with it and pulled their genetic code and like examined it, and they seen like the shift in it. They seen like irregularities that were causing their symptoms, but that weren't like, they're not genetic code. It's a glitch in it, basically, if you will. Like, you can look it up. There's all kinds of studies on it and stuff now, but they still don't associate it with our war because it wasn't classified as a Gulf War. Where when we were in the Gulf, like we were in the same exact locations. And I promise you, Iraq did not go around and clean up the dust after the Gulf War. If anything, they continued to add to tenfold. Well, symptoms were for Desert Storm and vets, correct? I don't know anymore. The VA, the way they do stuff, it's so confusing. Let's see. What's the CBDs helped me more than anything. But if I want to do what I do, I can do cannabis. And see, and that's ridiculous to me. You know, people can go out and drink and talk about drinking at work all they want, and it's okay. They can talk about killing themselves and whatnot and risking DUIs and everything else. But God forbid you went home and smoked a bowl, you know, which, by the way, being a drug test officer for the Army, I can tell you that you could smoke a bowl like a month and you wouldn't pop out on a drug test. Because, again, your body naturally produces THC and CBD. So there's already levels in your body. So for the test, there's levels that you have to surpass to be able to be considered, you know, dirty. So you're always going to have cannabis in your system anyways, regardless if you ever smoked in your life. But so that's why there's a level on there, and they have to set it a little high because different people have different levels. So if you're a smaller person, then you can get away with smoking a little bit more and you still wouldn't test. I'm just saying. But that's because you can smoke and make better decisions than, it's not like going to work drunk or going to work spun, or, you know what I mean? Like, you're more focused. A lot of people tend to be more conscious because they know they're high, so they want to pay attention more because they're like trying not to look high or trying not to act high, instead of just owning it and just being like, I just coast everywhere because I stay high and I'm still able to function, so nobody sees an issue with it. And that's why I always say that, you know, people that get high and are lazy, they were just lazy before they got high. Weed just enhances you. Yeah, see, and my pain, honestly, my pain doesn't really get touched with THC at all. Like, CBDs do help when I have them, but they're not as easy to get as everything else is. The cannabis really just gives me that buffer between wanting to fucking just go crazy and hurt everybody I see because their ignorance just frustrates me. And just kind of relax and be like, am I just being an uptight asshole, or does this person really need to get smacked? And I'm still able to if I need to. It's unlike some of the medications they had me on to where I couldn't get mad if I had to save my life. Like, I would just be giggling and stuff and laughing. I didn't like it. It controlled me. You know, cannabis doesn't control me. It allows me to control myself. You know, it gives me a buffer to slow down for a second and kind of give a thought process where I was conditioned not to. You know, that trigger that they say is broke, you know, that fight or flight response wasn't an option. You know, it was fight or fight. So anytime I'm feeling some type of way or something, my initial response is going to be violent, quick, and to the throat, because that's the way we're trained. You know, get it done quick. So I try to stay high because somebody coming up and interrupting my conversation, they don't know I got a TBI, and I will lose exactly where I was saying if I change thoughts. So, you know, if they come up to me and I'm sober and they break up the conversation, they're liable to get choked. But the fact that I'm usually high, I'm able to kind of recognize the fact that they don't know me, they don't understand what just happened, and kind of just let them do what they gotta do and get away from me before I do become mad. But so you just gotta know yourself. Like right now, my throat's going, man. What's up, Deep? So that's my take on the whole narcotic medications. If you guys got anything else, what up, Deep? We love you. The worst thing was being paranoid and the cannabis hiking it. I kept feeling like everyone was going to get me busted. Yeah, I mean, see, I don't have enough of that healthy paranoia and fear, Johnny. But I know what you're saying, and one thing people got to realize too is that you can be allergic to cannabis. It is still a flower. It's just like anything else. You can be allergic to it, and that's what causes psychosis. And I wouldn't have honestly believed it if I didn't see it myself. And I mean, this guy went like hysterical for a minute. I mean, he was not there with us for a minute, for a good 4 hours, 5 hours solid. He was not really with us, and then he just came to. Just kind of like as an allergic reaction, if somebody broke out with hives for a while and was itching everywhere, and then they started to subside because they calmed down or whatever, or the irritant left. Well, it's the same thing with cannabis. If you smoke it and you're allergic to it, it's going to cause you to get paranoid. It's going to cause you to freak out. That's the side effect of it if you're allergic to it. And there's a lot of people that are, and women tend to be more sensitive to cannabis than men are for some reason, which means that one, they'll get higher, and two, they'll get deeper into psychosis if it's allergic to. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. And I haven't been that paranoid in a long time. And sometimes it's just, you just get too high. Like, I've been like that once or twice. I call it getting like high school high. You know what I mean? When you're worried about your parents coming home or something. What are these? These are my vicious pit bulls back here. What are you doing? I guess I'm interrupting their nap. But all right, man, that's about all the time I got anyways. So I appreciate it. If you guys got anything else on pharmaceuticals, let me know. Like I said, hopefully next weekend I hope to have, or next week I hope to have Sergeant Borkin on, or however you say his name. I'm sure he'll let me know because I'm probably butchering it. And yeah, we'll go from there. But appreciate you guys. I can get some, I don't know, cough syrup or something. Might kill me. Hey, and we got some puppies coming. Summer's about to pop, so I'm gonna be needing to get ready some puppies soon. So you gotta get ready.